Welcome to my favorite part of Breezin with Bierman. Ooh, ooh. Kurt's not getting anything lately. Kurt.
Do you want a lap dance?
That would be my nightmare.
I am not prepared for that.
Okay, come on, baby. Come on, baby.
Could you imagine being in your house? You hear like a shuddering of noise, and you wake up, and this Kurt staring like weirdly to the corner of the room in like yellow underwear, and he turns around with that pasty body
and then
staring
you woke
at you.
up.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare. Vivian, Vivian, you look very perky these days. Anyway, we have the round table right now.
Yeah,
We have
nice boobs.
Are you Sandra Jordan or
you.
Vicky Estrella? You're Sandra right now. You're your real person.
Sandra.
We have
Vicky's just a character.
Vivian Schnaidman, who's been, there were some contract negotiation problems. You haven't seen Vivian for 2 months, but I think they've been resolved. I'm not sure. And we have the cynical, should I say, you should be part of the Zelda Fitzgerald club of just, downward depression, Kurt Tazelaar. But anyway, issue 1, the state of the station, the state of Breezin with Bierman. Who wants to go first? Tackle this.
What a boring topic.
You come on the show.
What's issue 2?
What's the YouTube? What did you do? Do I need a translator? What did you just say?
I said, what's issue 2?
Issue 2.
That was it.
Okay, my other issue was Amanda Perry, the professor at Princeton University. As you know, I'll wrap it up quickly.
This happened, last summer?
Kurt, you don't keep up. Look, you live in, shall I say, a box, and you're off the grid by choice. What happened was
live
this.
in a cage.
The president, Ike Goldberger, whatever his name is, he never, as soon as...
The president is Donald Trump.
No, the
Not yet.
Princeton University president. We talk about that minority elected president later.
Can we gag him? Anyway, when Perry, the black professor, or African-American Negro, whatever you want to say, when she was arrested...
That's real good. You go over real well. You're swell in front of big audiences.
Ike Goldberger, okay...
Michael Gruber, something like that.
He came in and said he expressed concern about what was happening with Amanda Perry. Amanda Perry said that she implied in her blog that she was treated poorly.
Why don't you tell the audience what the whole case is about? Because you're introducing this out of the blue. And
I'll tell you the case. I'll tell you. So I think that it was last summer or close to the summer. She was speeding. She was driving like 60 miles per hour
on Mercer Street.
Mercer Street, which is 45 only, I believe.
Parts of it are 25.
No.
Parts are 25.
Okay, yeah. So she was driving over the speed limit. Of course, she was stopped. And oh surprise, when the policemen stopped her, they realized that she had some stuff going on, such as
no driver's license.
Yeah, suspended license.
A suspended driver's license and some tickets that were not paid. It seems that the protocol that everybody's horrified calls for handcuff the person and take it to the police station. Well,
and then at the station she had to be handcuffed to the chair or something.
She has to be like that and so forth, but that's the protocol.
Yeah, let me handcuff you to the chair.
Now, because that's the protocol, and my personal opinion is that she used that because we are living in this, lately we are living in this kind of like every other month, some police case, some police brutality, and she took
it as a vehicle for political protest.
Exactly.
In her blog.
So she implied that it was because she was African American.
Right, because it never happens to white people.
Exactly, which is not true. I myself have a ticket, and they say that I was speeding. I was over 25. Yeah. I was never 60 like she was.
And you're from Mars.
And anyway, I could have said it because I am Hispanic.
No, men are from Mars.
I'm from Venus. But I could have said that it was because I was Hispanic. It didn't cross my mind. The policeman asked me, what do you know what speed limit is? And I said, it's 25 or 35. I was not sure.
Valley Road.
It was Valley Road. And he said, it's 25. Were you in a rush? And I said, no. So if that was the case, so I was not doing 25, I admit that. But I was not doing 45 or 50, that's no way. I might have been done I'm gonna say 32. But anyway, I got my ticket. I went and paid.
Were you-
End of the story.
And her last.
Were you handcuffed to Adam?
No, because I was not driving with an expired, suspended driver's license, and I didn't have anything on pay.
So
I
did
was
they-
just given a ticket.
And her last name, Bierman, big in this town, big name. No.
So anyway,
Did they deport you?
no, they didn't. So I never thought, oh, he's stopping me because I'm Hispanic. Never even crossed my mind. Never. Anyway, so she used that. She took advantage of that. And the stupid thing is that she was so into that she didn't realize that she had on her the suspended license, the speeding, and the unpaid ticket. So all those things that we, the public, didn't need to know, we learned because of that letter that she pretended she was mistreated.
Okay, so what's this new issue? What is
Because
the new news on
the
this?
councilwoman Jenny Miller
And Joe Butler.
yes, they put it out at a recent meeting
With the president.
with the university. Those secret meetings that they had once or twice a year, whatever. So she put it out, and because they said that the president immediately wrote a letter siding with the professor,
They were concerned with her
and not
treatment.
everybody, but a lot of people jump up and down and ask, "Hey, Mr. President of Breezin University, would you do that if a janitor was stopped, or you're just doing it because he's a professor?" So he immediately sided, implying that the police was a little out of control doing that and all that. But when things were clarified and the cameras were
And she went on a leave of absence, and she wrote a
now
black
she's
saying,
in sabbatical, blah blah blah, and he never apologized. So Jenny Miller was asking for a public
Why not?
apology because he never apologized for what he did, which was a very quick letter without knowing the facts. Because now about facts, it seems that facts are not important anymore in 2016, and
No.
from now on, it seems that that's the trend. No facts,
No
just
facts.
make it up.
But retroactively, facts are also not important. We've rewritten so much history to cover over the facts or just discard the facts because facts are not as interesting as pretend, because pretend is much
or
more
if the
interesting.
facts are too horrifying,
Or if
then
the
you
facts
better not
go
know or not
against
learn them.
the political position
of that person, right?
of whatever it is that the person's
So
agenda
I mean,
is.
we even want to erase history
Yes.
just because it might hurt somebody's feelings
Yes.
I don't know.
and all that. So everything is turning into a surreal world because of our feelings.
Well, she did write, Manny Perry did write in the op-ed of one of the Sunday New York Times in defense of identity politics, saying it might go too far sometimes, but we need it because racism is still a fact and it affects people. But I don't know. In principle, you don't need safe spaces.
But you
That's
know,
kinda
in
stupid on
my
campus.
opinion, I think that she had lost credibility. Anything that she writes, I wouldn't even bother to read anymore because she already wrote something that was
Right,
pretty
but the
bad.
thing is that we are not 20 and we are already adults and we have already, finished our studies. Well, we've not finished our studies, but the kind of things
The
that
formal.
our formal educations, and we are already there. And for the people that those young impressionable minds, we don't count anymore. So the fact that we know something is really irrelevant to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world, they think this is our future and they want to mold those minds in a certain direction.
But I think that they are doing a disservice to those people.
Oh, they're doing a terrible disservice,
because
but it
they are
doesn't.
not ready for the real world.
But there's a political agenda out there. Like
I like it when you two fight.
we're not fighting.
Fighting,
We're
we are
discussing.
just
Oh, come on,
talking.
fight.
Oh, that's what you want. But
Well, you're talking about campuses.
Yeah.
And before you go on, there was a pushback, even on the Princeton campus. A lot of people said, a lot of students pushed back against having safe spaces and having trigger warnings and everything. But anyway, go on.
Here's something about a safe space at Princeton University that you guys might not know. Do you know that they have 23 inpatient alcohol recovery beds at Princeton University?
Well, if you look on Prospect Street on a Saturday night, they need them.
For
People in
their-
the bushes, yeah.
And now
No,
more than half their students are underage.
Right.
But yet they have those nice safe space beds for their students to recover from binge drinking.
Well, what are they supposed to do? Get arrested and go to the Mercer County holding tank?
Well,
or
how
something?
about if they're not supposed to drink? Don't they have an honor code?
I don't know. What people are going to drink no matter what, especially, when you're a night shift.
I hear you. But if we're going to be so safe, and we're going to be so sanctimonious, and we're going to be so honorable, and it's going to be
and everything you have to really think your words, because you don't want to hurt.
You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
And
there's all these special classes, and there's all these protected classes, and everybody there is so delicate, and everybody there is so special, and everybody there is a minority, and everybody that comes there is like this special flower.
And then they drink.
And then they drink when they're 17 or 18.
And some binge drinks
It's
to the
very
point.
23 beds.
But,
and
yeah.
the university
But is that-
says,
but how
the
is this
university
being a-
says it's not in the university, it's in those clubs that are not part of the university. So some things
But
are
the university-
part of the university when it's convenient to be part of the university, and other times it's not, because it's not convenient to be part of the
But
university.
what's so bad about keeping it in-house? How's that like creating, I guess they need help and they're keeping it in-house and stuff. Where are they supposed to go, to Princeton House or something? Or I don't
No, it's not where they're supposed to go, where they're not supposed to go.
It's the hypocrisy.
The
It's just the
You think
hypocrisy.
it is hypocrisy, I see.
It's just the hypocrisy. They want to change the name of the Woodrow Wilson School because Woodrow Wilson said some bad things.
He threw a lot of blacks off, civil service blacks off.
Yeah, but we are talking at the beginning of the century,
Yeah. Anyway.
when everybody or most of the people
No.
were
To be
thinking
fair,
of that.
Woodrow Wilson was a bad racist, even by the standards of that
That's
time.
right. Okay.
Now,
Then why did they
whether or
name
not they
this-
should erase his name from Princeton University, but it is important
Yeah,
to
but I don't
to
accept a
acknowledge.
student who applies for Princeton University and gets into Princeton University, and then 2 or 3 years later decided that he doesn't like the school to be called Woodrow Wilson. Didn't he
Yeah.
or she know before?
Maybe
He
not. That's
doesn't
part of the
like-
educational process.
Doesn't
No.
like the name, then just don't go.
I agree
Right.
that that's silly.
Do your homework.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence. They should have done their due diligence before they honored this man by naming a school out of him. I didn't have a single ancestor in this country at the time.
But there
that
weren't
Woodrow
minority
Wilson-
students at Princeton really until like the late 70s and early 80s. It's been really small minority. I guess a lot of the whites didn't care during that.
But, I don't know. I
But-
wasn't
but,
alive
but
then.
the point is, like, I wonder, and I'm gonna say, and I'm okay with that. Probably the reason that they didn't eliminate the name is because yes, Woodrow Wilson was racist, but he also was
Oh, he's an amazing president.
amazing-
He did a
exactly.
lot of things.
And he
from
was the president of the United States, and he was president of the university.
Governor of New Jersey.
So you put in a scale, and I see how much of
Right.
that. And besides all the alumni
well,
donations.
that's a political
what I
alumni factor.
learned
Yes, well, that's
recently?
more the political.
I
that's
learned-
the thing.
I learned
Because-
this thing about the electoral college, right? I learned that the southern states, the slave states, had a disproportionately large number of electoral votes because
They
of
counted
the-
3/5 or something.
they
Yeah.
counted slaves,
That's
and the
pretty impressive.
owners voted on behalf of their slaves who couldn't vote. I was talking to somebody about this, and I said, for the time, that was amazing. They understood that these were human beings. They couldn't vote. So they were giving the slave owners the right to vote on their behalf. And I was really amazed by this.
I don't know if they're really voting on the behalf.
Well, they didn't vote on their behalf.
Yeah, but it was a
Because they didn't
cynical
have a
ploy.
vote.
It was a cynical ploy by the South. They didn't really dig slaves as human beings, except when they could get
Of
more
course they
representation.
did. They let these women breastfeed their babies.
Yeah, but-
they had relationships with them and had children with them. They knew that they were human beings. We
But
are
they-
looking at it with our 21st century eyes and saying, oh, it was terrible, it was horrible. Of course
was.
it was terrible and horrible. But it was something that we can't understand because we didn't live then.
But I'm just saying, a particular point about electoral. They cynically use slaves to get more representation.
For the time, I think it was a very interesting way of looking at the political situation.
It was rank hypocrisy by trying to. And,
Well, but the point right
That's
now
the way
would
that
be
we look
is
at it now.
Now do we
Oh, what
need
was
it?
it? The North. We thought it was back then. The North. A lot of people thought it was.
Yeah, but
against
now
slavery.
in the 21st century, do we need
No,
that?
of course
Electoral
not.
college?
That's a separate issue. Of
Well,
course
some
not. We
people
have to
said
get
yes
to the-
because Trump got elected. Some people can't stand Trump. Said this is proof because he was actually the first third-party
Yeah,
candidate.
but this is I believe that it's probably the only country in the world that has this system, because otherwise it's a popular vote.
It does it does give
And if you have more than 2 candidates, which happen in other countries and here too, but you don't know the names, besides of in this case, Jill Stein and Gary Johnson, but apparently there were others.
Of course, yeah.
So there are more candidates, and normally what they do is that whoever gets the 2 bigger amounts of votes, then they go for a second round, and then in between those 2. And that's the end of the story. No this, no that, no
the electoral college, though, I mean, yes or no. One thing, though, states do get representation through it. On a given year, you might need Vermont or North Dakota's vote, so it does keep them in the game.
No,
I just know another way to look at it.
But if the people really go out and vote, because there's that's nobody's fault that California has more population than, there's nobody's fault that more population than Kentucky, but too bad. What people need to do is to go out and vote, and don't sit down and expect somebody else to vote and then complain or fight or be happy or be sad.
But
just vote. And that's the way it is. Everybody vote, then that's the
if everybody had one vote
majority.
And if you had like a pin and you could vote from your computer, and if you don't have a computer or you don't have a way to do it from home, then you could go to the polling station and vote or whatever. There should be different ways to do it. And then every person gets a vote, and you could vote for whoever you want.
I have 3 votes.
Well,
Okay.
Well, one thing, they're talking about proportional voting, like you could vote for your number 1 candidate, your number 2 candidate. That's another thing. So
no, and all the states should be the same too. They shouldn't
Well,
have
that's
this
America.
kind of ballots and this kind of
That's
ballots.
America.
Well, it's the president of the United States
I know.
that are 52 states. They just unify.
That's why the
that and
computer
stop
scares
this
me. Accountability,
nonsense.
there can't be
Stop the
accountability.
nonsense. And another thing, that the ID to go to vote. I don't necessarily disagree on
That's
that.
voter suppression. There's no widespread fraud because of that. Let people
know,
vote.
I know, but
Republicans are the only ones doing
You
that
know
right
what? I don't see what the big deal is about having an ID. You need an ID to go get Medicaid.
Yeah.
So why can't those people have an ID
now. Because
to
the
go vote?
practical reality, a lot of people, for whatever reason, maybe they don't have it, but it still shouldn't stop them
but
from
this
voting.
is-
And why do only the Republicans be the ones pushing that?
Because the
'Cause most of
Democrats are not decide
No,
just
this
not
is-
to
it's
fight
very
for that.
well
There's
known.
nothing wrong in
come on.
having an ID.
Look, Republican strategists do this because they
They
know
admit
that
it
it will
sometimes.
disproportionately dampen the African American vote because
And poor people vote.
Yeah,
Less
because
likely to get an ID,
They're less
have
likely to have
transportation.
cars and
Yeah, I
to have
know
a
the
driver's
reason
license.
behind what they do.
And so,
But the
it's
point
called voter
is,
suppression.
Yeah.
Yes,
It-
except that all of the entitlements that poor people get require an ID.
and
every
if they
single
get
one.
the requirement.
So if
why
you
don't
can
they
get your
vote?
entitlement, you have enough ID to go vote.
Not all poor people get entitlements, though.
No,
And
yeah, but
and
a
then they
big
switch it. The
majority
ID
do.
has to be updated license. They play all these games with it
Well,
too.
then
It's
you
almost
can-
like
they
a
can-
weird
they
poll
can
tax.
change those
It's cynical.
requirements.
It's cynical
It is
and-
absolutely
No,
cynical.
well,
It's the same way
whether-
that gerrymandering is cynical.
Yeah, for
Well,
both
is
Democrat
it-
and Republican.
We know the
So
the
they
reasons
should do it, but
behind.
they don't. But the point is,
We
it's voter
know the
suppression.
reasons behind, but the reality is that everybody should have an ID, not necessarily
No.
a passport, but everybody. This is the only country where people don't have an ID.
You don't need
I
an
mean,
ID.
ID is mandatory. You have an accident, that you're in the street. Nobody
knows who
knows
are.
who you are. Are you serious?
We can still go to the emergency room and get
Yes,
treatment.
and then what? Who are you?
Actually, no.
How many times does that happen? I mean, come on. If you're homeless, you die, then you go to pauper's grave. But you eventually will say, well, I don't have any ID on me, but I'm Jim Smith and I live at so-and-so place. I don't think
And
it's a
they
huge
can
problem.
also make up the name.
Yeah, but
And
I don't
things
think
like
it's a
that
huge
happen.
problem.
I think that there's nothing
don't-
wrong in ask for ID. What they have to do is unify the ID for voters.
That's not going to happen. Well, that's really unrealistic. That's
Well,
just like
because
getting
for
rid of the
example,
electoral
in
college.
Mexico, people have an electoral vote. A voter ID is plastic. It's not a piece of paper. It has a picture. It has date of birth. It has everything
Doesn't
in that.
impress me. I don't care.
And is an electoral ID, so that person is entitled to vote. And that doesn't have an expiration date. You know why? Because the person is there at 18 years old. And so it's already a person that
what was
is
the-
eligible to vote. And that's the ID.
It's
So-
still against voter suppression, so we shouldn't have IDs. And
No,
let's just let people
well,
vote.
if you don't fix the problem, then you have to do just.
Are you
give
going to start a
IDs to the
national
corporate.
campaign? I mean, we can't even get people to fill out the census. So I don't know. When they did it just with 10 questions and they mailed it to your house, it was only 50% return. So
Because everything here is, oh, you have the freedom of, so you don't do it. So some things, at some point, if they are really important, you have to make them mandatory. It doesn't mean that it's not democracy.
well,
It should
I didn't
be
say that. We have
mandatory.
insurance
You know
and
why?
it's mandatory. I think we
Because
should have
here-
one
I
in
mean,
healthcare.
paying taxes is
It's because in
mandatory.
this country you
You have
get
to-
nothing. Whatever you do, whatever the government requires of you, you get
What are
nothing
you talking
back. You get
Yeah.
nothing back. You
That's
get
a
nothing-
broad brush
No,
statement.
you get nothing back.
And
What
go-
do you get?
Well, I want to that in a second, but going back, you have to prioritize. Some things are more important to really have mandatory, like minimums, like a mandatory insurance. And I'd like to see single-payer health care. The voting thing, which would be hard to do, is lower on my list. In a perfect world, people would be more responsible and get their ass and get a photo. I agree, but it doesn't really happen. Anyway, what do you mean? What do you get?
What do you get?
Well, we used to get, one, the roads are paved pretty well. Two. They
You
have
mean
kept
those
it
roads that are like $15
from the
to
macro
drive on?
or the mini. Macro or the mini.
Anything.
One, we've only had since 9/11 about, I think, 94 people died due to terrorism, mostly from homegrown terrorists. Now, since I'm really involved and I have a secret, portal to what's going on, they've done a great job with our tax money keeping us safe. That's on the macro. Two,
Show me another country where they've had 94 homegrown terrorist attacks.
oh my God, Turkey. I think England might be out there. France is more, of course, now. Russia, but they suppress that. China, who knows? I mean, it goes on and on.
Those cases in England and in France were not homegrown. Those were all.
They were French citizens.
Some of them were French citizens, but they were all North Africans.
Okay, but I'm going. What else do we get? You got to help me here on the mini or tax
Help
dollar.
you? Yeah.
Tax money? Roads.
What about Montgomery roads, schools? I think
Services?
services, schools.
Montgomery schools where they don't even
Infrastructure
have a lab
works.
in honors biology.
Are
No
you going to
labs.
tell me these aren't good schools
No
in
labs.
Montgomery?
No labs
No
in
labs?
science class. No labs.
And with all the Chinese and Indian students?
The Chinese and Indian students are good at memory. Well, Indians are different, but Chinese, no labs because labs are hard. You might have to think. So you just memorize.
But
This is what I'm paying my $13,000 a year taxes for. No labs.
Well, I don't know if that's the government's fault. It's more, again,
it's local
local.
government.
Yeah.
Local government, you have to really pay attention.
Yeah, that's
to that.
America, unfortunately. Everything, why do
And
we
you know what's happening in Princeton now that what's the name of those barracks? I call it the barracks in Harrison Street that they are going to
the barracks? Barriers?
barracas in Spanish. That they are going to do housing there, Princeton University.
Mhm.
Then we have the Avalon Bay, and we have all these like an injection of more kids going to school, and now with the charter school, the public schools are going to lose millions of dollars, and
Right.
they want to restore some buildings because of the affluence of more students that they're gonna get. It's gonna be a big mess here in Princeton by 2018.
What kind of big
Mark
mess?
my words.
What, they're going to riot? Charter schools?
Oh no,
schools
the
gonna be
taxes are
rioting?
going so up.
They're high enough already.
Well, they're going to go more because they almost is school. Oh, Princeton,
Then
Princeton
let's
public
sell the house and go to
schools.
Mississippi then. That's all I can tell you.
Or Canada.
Canada. Oh, I'm not going to
Or
Canada.
Portugal.
We're going to have civil
Portugal
war.
sounds
Yeah,
nice.
sounds good.
Too much. Anyway, my more interest in the state of the station. Does anyone ever talk to you about what you do here?
What is the state of the station?
I don't even.
Well, I can
It's a
tell
cynical
you
thing.
as a person who has a show here,
You
I
have
had a
2 minutes,
guest.
hurry up.
I guess the other day that he had lived in Princeton, I believe he said 15 years. Let's put 10 in case that I'm wrong, but at least 10. He said he's Hispanic because my show is in Spanish. Oh, my hair.
She can't get to the
Oh.
point worse than I can.
So he said, oh God. Anyway, he said
I
that.
can't bear the gray, dear. Do
that-
something.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to cover.
Okay.
So he said that why is that those were his
You should wear
his
Adam's
words.
wig.
Why is that I have never knew that this exists? Those were his words. So people do not know that the station exists.
Well, I blame Kurt. 'Cause
Now
you-
let's see what happens
And
in
Vivian.
2017.
Could
Are you
say-
going to stay on Breezing with Bierman, or do you have philosophical
Are
differences
you
with
ready
people
for
here?
the next season?
Are you ready for the next 2017 season? Or do you have philosophical differences? You're not getting paid enough. What?
Well,
In the
I'm
final-
getting paid as much as everybody else. I can't complain about that.
Do you have anything animosity towards against anyone here?
No,
Do you see Stacey Hoffer as competition?
no, I don't.
You don't. Your makeup looks quite good today, too.
Thank you.
You should have done mine. Okay, that has
Next
been
time.
next time. That's been an exciting roundtable. Kurt again did a mannequin type thing, had not much to say.
I think your wife, we're going to break down the time spent talking, and we have a motor mouth over here.
Whoa,
Thank you.
anti-woman.
Thank
You're
you.
very anti-woman.
Well, that's very trendy also these years.
And stuff. And that has been our. I don't know what we said. Hopefully, we made some kind of sense. We'll coach it. That's been the roundtable. We'll be back in 2017.
Yep.
Beware. Ruff, ruff.